What if I told you red flags? What if I told you the red flags that are blocking your love life aren't the men that you choose, but the habits that you keep? Many high achieving black women assume that dating struggles are about bad men, air quotes there. But research suggests that deep relational patterns, such as that are rooted in self reliance, avoidance, and even your trauma responses, are actually driving many of the biggest struggles that you are facing. Today, we're exposing the red flags that you bring to the table, sis. But it's not to shame you, it's finally to show you why dating has felt like a battlefield for you and how you can break those patterns that aren't even yours, but that were taught to you so you can survive. Those habits that you unconsciously have developed over these years. Because once you see your own patterns clearly, you start dating and your dating life just changes instantly once you recognize what theirs are. So today I'm going to show you your red flags that you carry, the ones that you never saw, the ones that you were rewarded for, the ones that you believed were love while you were doing them, and you'll clearly walk away with clarity that you've never had before here today. So I am Marshawn Olanio, and I specifically work with and help professional Black women so they can see their blind spots. So while they're out there dating, they can stop repeating the same habits and behaviors over and over again. And I specifically did this by coming up with something that I knew would really help. And what I came up with was a quiz. It's called What's Blocking You from Being Soft in Love? I'll have that in the description as well as in the show notes, depending on which platform you are watching those on. But the quiz is designed for you to break these patterns, for you to recognize your blind spots. So if you are ready to figure out what your blind spots are, if you have not taken the quiz yet, if this is your first time being introduced to me, the quiz is designed specifically for professional Black women. So if that's you and you want to figure out what's happening with you, then absolutely go ahead and take the quiz today. With that being said, today we are talking about identifying and breaking your own red flags before they break you. The first red flag, right, that is harming professional Black women is the habit of dismissing green flags. What do I mean by that, right? You may be unconsciously downplaying consistency, downplaying kindness, downplaying his reliability because he feels boring. He's too nice, right? What feels safe can feel unfamiliar to us. And if you're used to relational intensity or emotional labor, him coming off as kind and safe and boring, if you will, is making you feel very uncomfortable. And when you feel uncomfortable, a lot of times we unconsciously start to sabotage a good thing. And a lot of that is because honestly, you're just not ready for the good thing. You're used to the tumult and you're used to the craziness. You're used to a man not being consistent. You're used to being the one that's holding all of the or doing all of the emotional labor in the relationship. And so when somebody comes along and they're literally taking some of these things off your plate or at least cut them in half, because before you was doing all the work, now you're doing partial or half of the work, it feels unfamiliar to you. So you're just like, you write off somebody's steady, their emotional supportive behavior, because this doesn't feel as exciting as the drama that you're used to. Even though this is a subconscious thing, this is not something that you go out and say, I want somebody to be mean to me. I want somebody that's not going to be consistent. We out loud say, I want somebody that's going to be consistent. I want somebody that's going to treat me like a queen. I want somebody that's going to fill in the blank. We say all of the good things, but when that actually is in our face, when we're really not ready for said beautiful relationship to come up, a lot of that has to do with the work that you haven't done. Your internal compass is saying this feels strange. He can't be true. The things that he's bringing to the table can't be true. Why does he feel boring? It's because a lot of that internal work for you working through why you're so attracted to the constant drama has not been looked into. It really hasn't. And a lot of times research actually suggests that this type of avoidant attachment style, they those people tend to downgrade or downregulate emotions, and they may not respond as strongly to positive emotional bids, which is leaning into you, making you feel safe, right? Making healthy behavior feel less electric to you as a person that's avoiding all of this stuff. At the same time, the positive relational experiences over time can increase closeness and reduce avoidance. But that's over time. That's you letting down your guard. That's you allowing the person into your most sacred space. That's allowing the person to see you vulnerable. That's simply asking for help, which a lot of us as professional Black women, we are not used to doing for several reasons. And one could be that you're just used to doing everything by yourself. But a lot of that came from you being disappointed, people letting you down. If I don't do it, it won't get done. It won't get done right. So let me just do it. A lot of that came from a lot of things that we have experienced in our community, which are valid. But at the same time, if you're trying to build something that is beautiful between a man and woman, that is where you can take off all of these multiple hats and just be in your feminine. A lot of us haven't been able to be in our feminine, again, for a lot of other reasons that I mentioned on several other videos, but I won't go deep in that today. But what I'm specifically pointing out is the red flags that you carry, the red flags that you're bringing to the table that you may not even be aware that you're bringing to the table. This I've heard from clients. This I've heard from friends. He's too nice. He's boring. It's because, again, I'm going to repeat this. A lot of your internal work, the deeper work that needs to be done before we jump into these long-term relationships and marriages specifically, has not been done. So you want it to, or you wish it to be always exciting. But when you think about it, really sit back and ask yourself and think about this question. Is the excitement really worth the frustration that comes along with it? Me being really, really high because he's trying to get back on my good side, and go from those really, really high moments to those really, really down deep in the dirt, crying, snotting, up all night, checking your phone, looking out the window. How do I know this? Because I've been there, I've done that. It didn't feel good. And once I removed myself from those situations, I was like, that's not the type of relationship that I wanted to be in. And for me, that was in my marriage. That's not the type of marriage that I wanted to be in, where I'm looking out the window because you decided not to come home that night, or you decided to let the sun catch you when you decided to open up the door to sleep for the night. When I decided that I didn't want to be a part of a marriage like that. And there was other things that were going on. It wasn't just this one thing. So there's usually a buildup before we decide to say enough is enough. And I got to that point. But if we think about these things before we even get there, we really should tap deeper into the boring guy, to the guy that is showing you all of the things that we say that we want. A lot of times we don't know how to handle it when it's in our face. Then there is the red flag blind spot. It's easier to spot what is wrong with somebody else than to recognize how your own relational style shows up, how your own red flags are showing up, what you're consistently doing to be your own red flag. I did a video long ago. Are you a walking red flag? I was a walking red flag at one point. If you haven't watched that, I'm going to plug it up here because I feel like you should watch that video just to understand if you're a walking red flag. You might be. It goes even deeper than this right here. What looks like self-awareness may actually be reactivity, which is a pattern of protecting yourself without truly reflecting. A lot of us could do so well if we just took the minute. minuscule moment to reflect on why a relationship didn't work out. And if you're not in a relationship, this is the perfect time for you to do some reflection on your previous, like your last one, and those prior to that. Any relationship that you can think of where it didn't work out for whatever reason, reflect on the reasons why. And I'm not talking about reflect on what he didn't do. I'm talking about reflecting on the areas of your own weakness. What red flags were you bringing to the table as to why your relationship didn't work out? One of the things that I had to specifically take accountability on was the fact that even though I felt like I did a lot of things right, at some point, because I didn't feel like I was being treated right, at some point I started playing the game and I started doing the wrong stuff, right? But then let's back up even further to take you in more accountability. I chose him just like he chose me. So maybe my choice wasn't the best choice, period. A lot of the internal work that I'm speaking about, that I talk about time and time again, a lot of things that I try to get you not to go down the same road is because I've already been there and it doesn't feel good. So if I can help 1, 10, 20, 50, 100 women specifically, but people in general, specifically in our community, so we can start breaking down these generational curses, then I have done my and fulfilled my God-given purpose. It really does make a difference with how we are showing up in our relationships, and how much accountability that we are taking for ourselves and the partners that we have chosen to be in a relationship with. We attract where we are at. We attract where we are at. So if you are not the most trusting person, you're going to attract somebody that doesn't trust you, right? Or has some type of flaws about himself when it comes to you, right? So you have to really hunker down and really try to figure out your own mess, right? So one of the things that I hear time and time again, which is why it was the first point, is the green flags. Even though you're not saying them green flags, it's just like, he too boring, he too nice. There's nothing that, like, that's really the type of guy that you want. Those are the type of men that are ready to settle down and build the type of homes that we say that we want. But these are the red flags that we're bringing to the table, which is why, and what I help my clients actually do is understand what their blind spots are. You don't know what your blind spots are. Or somebody has told you a time or 50, but you still are denying those things. If you have heard these things over and over again, my sis, love you, smooches, but that is a blind spot for you. You can't see that this, if you started working on this one particular area, how much better your connections could be with the next person that comes along. And just think about this in your reflection time. If you looked at each of your failed relationships and why they failed, not only the stuff that he was doing, but also your stuff, and you start working on those areas, you took 2, 3, 4, 5 different areas of weakness and started to really work on those. And the next person that comes around, you worked really hard not to repeat those same behaviors and habits. You will see there is a stark difference in the type of man that you will attract, as well as the connection within the relationship. All of the tug of war, the back and forth wouldn't be there as much if we took the time to reflect on our own areas of weakness, on our own red flags, on our own blind spots. And if you don't know what your blind spots are, I'm going to plug it here again. I created the quiz. What's blocking you from being soft in love? Specifically curated for Black professional women like yourself, so you can understand and stop repeating these same habits and behaviors over and over again. The link is in the first comment as well as in the description box, because I really would love for us to get a handle on what we are doing wrong. Forget about what the world and the stereotypes and he don't want and he's not doing. Let's focus those 4 fingers when we usually point out. Let's focus those 4 fingers back on us, because you can only control you. You can't control what nobody else thinks about you. You can't control how anybody else treats you, air quotes, because there is some control in that, right? It's about what you accept and what you're not. But I digress. You cannot control how a person and what a person is going to say and how they're going to, what box they're going to put you in and all these other things. You can only control you. You can only control your actions. You can only control your thoughts. Uh, anyway, to a certain degree. But all of this has to do with you. Instead of looking outside for the answers, all of the answers that you need are already inside. The things that you have to shift and change about yourself are already within you to figure those things out. The next thing is the red flag of choosing men that you can fix. Why are we doing that? Only time a person can change is when they are ready to change. There's nothing that you can do to fix a person. It's a full-time job trying to fix yourself. You can't fix nobody else. That person, in this case, your potential partner, your mate, has to be willing to do his own work. You have to be willing to do your own work. And at some point together, then y'all do work together. But if you have yet to start on your own work, fixing your own areas of weakness, focusing wholeheartedly on yourself and what you can do and how you can do things different in your relationship, it's going to be a problem. But you're not a fixer. You're not a fixer of the man that you invite into your life. Rescuing may feel a little bit safer than being seen. You pick partners you need to help rather than truly partnering with. Fixing becomes a way to avoid revealing your own vulnerabilities. A lot of times we pick people that we know that we don't have to show up fully who we are. We don't really have to showcase who we are. We can kind of control the way that this relationship is going to, go. We can control the time limit and how much we're going to step into, how much we're really going to reveal about ourselves. All of that is a choice that you're making. But in keeping your most vulnerable pieces hidden, in keeping the things that you really need to ask for help on and not, the connection is slowly but surely fading away. You cannot stay connected when you're trying to always be the boss in your romantic relationship. You gravitate towards someone with baggage because helping them feels more comfortable than letting someone support you. You know how, this is such a simple example, but even when I give some women, specifically Black women, compliments, how they can't take the compliment of, oh, you look so pretty today, or oh, you look beautiful. Oh, instead of just saying thank you. If you can't take the compliment from me, very platonic, nothing sexual about it. It's just like, oh, chat, oh, girl, you doing that today. If you can't take that and own that, I bet you can't take and own a compliment from someone of the opposite sex either. And think and even believe, shifting your mind to believe that they actually meant what they said about you to you in that moment. Another thing that came to mind was the strong Black woman reflex as a red flag. This is where the cultural expectations of strength can lead to emotional overfunctioning, leaving little space for vulnerability. Where independence becomes your isolation when you do not allow your partner to support you emotionally. Again, if you can't connect in your vulnerability, if he has never seen you cry, or very rarely, if the only time you are releasing is in the car when you're screaming, or in the shower where nobody else can hear you, how can you expect for him to understand you, what you're going through? How does he get to be able to read you and know that something is wrong so he can support you if you're always pulling back and or hiding these things, never sharing what's bothering you? He can't. Again, this is where the disconnect. This is a red flag because you're always there for everybody else. But when it comes time for somebody to be there for you, You either don't have anybody or you don't allow someone to be there for you in that way, including your partner. Your friends and family may not ever see you because here's the thing. We know as the strong black woman, nobody really checks up on the strong black woman because they figure that you always got it together. And so if you don't have one, two, three people that you can be like, hey, I usually am strong, but I need to get this out today. That could be your coach. That could be your therapist. That could be your mentor. There has to be somebody that you should be able to just be you with. I remember I was having a conversation with one of my accountability partners. And before we started sharing like real life stuff, because we were just talking about business, before we started really sharing our lives, I remember, I guess for her, even though she knows I'm human, right? I guess for her, she had never seen that softer side of me. And so one day I remember her mentioning it to me, like, I know you're human, but like, just feel like you always got everything together. And I'm like, child, please. I didn't make no big deal about it, but I took mental note for sure. And now our relationship is even deeper because I showed that side of me. Like, girl, I was ready to throw in the towel. And I'm just talking about a friendship. I actually don't have no problem asking for help when I'm in a romantic relationship. I'm currently not in one, right? I don't have no problem asking for help. But I had to become aware of even in my friendships. Sometimes your deeper connections that you want, even in your friendship, aren't as deep because they've never seen you sweat. She thought I always have it together. I'm like, child. We as people, and I do have it together usually, but there are moments because I'm human. And things get to me just like they get to the next person, right? I have outlets. And so now this particular accountability partner has become a friend and a sister. And so she absolutely sees those parts of me now. So just think about not only in your romantic relationship, but also in your friendships. Those relationships that you want to become deeper can only become deeper if you allow your vulnerable side to be showcased. In a study of Black women, the superwoman Shima was significantly associated with avoidant attachment, which in turn predicted lower relationship satisfaction, which makes sense. If you're not attaching to someone, feel like you're connected to someone, you will have a tendency to have a lower rate of relationship satisfaction with your friend as well as in your romantic relationship because they don't truly know you. You don't truly know them. They've never seen your vulnerable side. You're trying to control how you show up in every scenario. You're trying not to break down. They only have seen your strong Black woman side. And that is a problem in the big scheme of things. So if you want more connection, let them see you sweat. Let them see your vulnerable side, not limited to your friendship. Please understand this is about your partnership, but also understanding that these are your red flags that you're carrying. The strong Black woman flex, for most of us, it becomes a red flag. In the beginning, it was about empowerment. And at some point, I don't even know where it happened. It started to twist and turn. And it's like I'm hyper independent now. When I think about the strong Black woman, that's what I think about. Hyper independence. I don't need nobody's help. I got this. No, I ain't got to ask for help. I'm going to figure it out. If I can't do it, nobody can do it. Nobody can do it like me. It's the simple things that show the connection, that show people that you need them, that show people that you want them there. I digress. Let's keep going. Here's the red flag of the patterns of choosing pain familiarity. And I know I messed that up, that word. You might be drawn to dynamics that feel familiar from your past, even if they aren't healthy. You know that they're not healthy. Chemistry is not always compatibility. What feels intense may be your trauma echo. You see, we have to think about the boring, the nice, the steady, the person that's always calling to check up on you. You told them about a project that you was having at work. Now, i.e., you have friend zoned him, right? This person is calling to check him. Hey, how did your presentation go? You need to run these things by me. Yes, I'm coming to see you when you do A, B, and C. I'll be there. They got all of your things memorized. They know your birthday. They know all of these things, and they're there for you every single time. They are your most consistent ride or die person, but you have friends on them because too nice, because he's too whatever, fill in the blank of something that you just not super appealed and drawn toward. That's the person you can have the most beautiful relationship with. That's the person that you're not even thinking about, but they've been thinking about you for a long time, which is why one of the reasons, maybe not the only reason, but one of the reasons why they are there for you. They see you. They have saw you at your lowest moments. If I'm not mistaken, I think that what is it, Rocky, ASP Rocky, whatever his name is, and Rihanna, she had friend zoned him, and he had saw her go through many ups and downs relationships. We all know with Chris Brown and everything, right? But other relationships as well. And he was always the guy that she would call and vent to and show her vulnerability and see how he was seeing how sad she was. But also he started to really just get to know her as a woman, as a person. Started to be that he was there for her all the time, in and out of relationships, meaning her. I'm sure he was too, but her specifically. And he wasn't necessarily waiting per se, but he was waiting. Okay. He finally got his opportunity. Now they're married with, I think it's 3 kids. That's the person. Too nice. He wasn't all about the drama. Now, I'm sure he had drama in other arenas of his life, just because I saw him in the news recently in court. But the point is, they've been together. Outside looking in, it looks like a happy marriage, family, covers of magazines, and all of these other things. And even her men specifically try to put him down and calling him a simp because he's a family man. Like, that don't make no sense. I digress. Friend zone men could be the very man that you are looking to have this beautiful life with, that you can just be you when you are with him. We don't have to continuously choose the same trauma, the same drama, the same pains, the same frustrations from the same type of guy. Try someone different so you can be different. Y'all together can be different and grow together. Attachment styles developed in early life influence how people relate in romantic relationships. For instance, avoidant individuals tend to withdraw in conflict and struggle to build intimacy. You don't have to be a part of that. The very last thing before we go is the red flag of performing softness. This displayed softness can feel like a strategic performance rather than genuine vulnerability. And I talked about vulnerability. Under stress, you revert to control because softness feels unsafe. We don't want to do that anymore, ladies, right? Because every woman has red flags, not just the men she dates. The real transformation happens when you finally recognize your own red flags and you break the ones that have kept love out of reach for yourself. So, if you're ready to see which of your patterns are blocking softness, blocking connection, and the kind of relationship that you truly desire, take the What's Blocking You from Being Soft in Love quiz today. It was created specifically for Black professional women like yourself on a journey back to herself. You deserve love that feels like safety, not survival. Start with the quiz today.